blessings and optimism to everyone joining today. Welcome in, Soul Seekers. This is Sting Queen here coming to you with Train Thoughts. Hope everyone is doing well today, full of energy and optimism, positive energy and optimism. That's always a great start. I'm glad you've made it. I'm your host, Eviana Reyes, and today I'm going to be talking to you about challenging fear. But first I want to touch on how I learned how to do this, because challenging any emotion does require a skill or some kind of training or knowledge or education on how to do so. And for me, because of all of the different mental health issues that I am challenged with and that I am learning to live with on a daily basis, I have had a wonderfully blessed opportunity to be in a position where my benefits through the military have covered a plethora of mental health care. So I have embarked on many different courses and different approaches, and I'm trying to think of the word. It's not the word I want to use. Basically, a bunch of different training modules and skills and healing processes and just different ways to, have my life worth living. Learn how to live with your chronic illnesses, your chronic pains, your debilitating issues, whether it's mental blockages or physical ailments, So I've done a lot of different programs, from EMDR to I had a depression group therapy I was in. I've done therapy for PTSD specifically. I have done in vivo therapy, which is an exposure therapy. I have participated in a cognitive behavior therapy. I've also embarked on a very, very amazing equine therapy, where I had the privilege of working with the creator's majestic beings, the horses. And in that program, I learned so many things about boundaries, and I was able to develop a sense of courage, and it was just a magnificent therapy. So if you do have the opportunity to look into these things or to involve yourselves in these programs for healing, I would recommend them as well. They were very helpful. But for this last diagnosis that I received in July of 2021, which was what was the name? Borderline personality disorder. Now, there are different variations of borderline personality disorder. It's very rare, if you ask me, to find the book definition of these different diagnoses, because all of these different diagnoses will affect everybody differently based off of your DNA makeup, your genetic makeup, your processing makeup, your learned behavioral makeup, all of that stuff. So with mine, my borderline personality disorder has been categorized as disassociative disorder, which is basically where my mind during the fight or flight process decides that it is not going to fight, it is indeed going to flight or flee or avoid. And when my mind does that, it feels like disassociation. It feels like I'm not here in the present. Has anybody ever felt like that? You ever feel like your body is somewhere, but your mind has left you? Like it is in a completely different location, and you're trying to figure out where it went, how long it's been gone, when it's going to come back for you, and what you're supposed to do while it's away. These are the things. This is how it feels to me when I disassociate. So what it looks like to others is someone can be having a conversation with me, or I can be in a public place and I will freeze and stare off into space, looking at absolutely nothing, y'all. Looking at absolutely nothing, but spaced off. I've left this planet. I don't know where I went, but I'm not in the here and the now. That is what my disassociation looks like. So if that's something that resonates with you, I don't know, maybe if you haven't spoken to your provider or your doctor about it, maybe that's something that you can mention so that they can add some kind of aid in therapy for you and your progress in healing, or hopefully the things that I will be discussing will help you if you're not ready to speak to a provider. Train Thoughts is all about retraining the mind, right? So I'm not here to convince you to retrain your mind, okay? I want to make that very clear. I want everyone to be aware, because it is very important to me that my intentions are known. I have set my intentions for this podcast to be helpful. I've set my intentions for this podcast to reach those that need to hear it in their journey of healing and in their time of healing. People who are ready to stop cycles, to end toxic cycles, to start new beginnings. People who are ready to transform into something better than what they are. People who have an open mind to the possibility that there is greater out there for us, and that all we have to do is put some of the work into fixing ourselves, into healing ourselves. That's a more comfortable word. Into healing ourselves to be better people, so that we can respond appropriately when we want to, so that we can react appropriately during chaotic situations. Because face it, who wants to sit around in the world looking like they done lost their mind? Nobody. Nobody wants to look like they have no mental awareness. It's really not a good feeling. It doesn't feel good. It really doesn't feel good to me. It challenges everything that I've stood for. It negates all of the education that I have taken, and I really have to fight these mental battles where I have to constantly validate myself and validate and remind myself of my accomplishments, just so that I can stay mentally afloat in this world and believing that I am somebody. So trust and believe that if you're hearing these words, try to feel comforted, hopefully, in the fact that knowing you are not alone, I am there with you. I've been there, I've done that, I'm doing it, I'm living it, and I'm progressing. So maybe these tools, these skills, these tips and tricks can help you to progress. That is the intention. My intention is not to convince or to manipulate or to, try to change anyone's mind, because life is all about choices. That is what I tell my children. That is what I believe. And our choices define who we are and what we do in life. So, with that being said, I want to talk to you a little bit about how I've learned how to work with my emotions. I started this program in January. This is a year-long program. It's a year-long commitment. It is an outpatient program, so you do not have to be an inpatient committed person to receive this kind of therapy. They do offer outpatient therapy in DBT. DBT, Delta Bravo Tango, are the letters, stands for dialectical behavioral therapy. And it's a skills training manual, basically, that was written by Marcia M. Linehan, or Lennon. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's Linehan. And she wrote this skills training manual to help us to learn how to change our own behaviors, our emotions, and our thoughts that are linked to problems in living and that are causing misery and distress in our lives. The goals of this therapy is to create a decrease in specific behaviors, unwanted behaviors, toxic behaviors that we're not okay with. And it's very important that you make sure that you're not okay with the behaviors that you're trying to change. Because if there's behaviors that are working for you, they are effective and they're good and they're healthy, you don't fix what isn't broken, right? But for those moments and those times when we feel like, I don't like the way someone said that, and we take offense and we make it about us and we victimize and we, woe is me and the world is against me, and is it really though? These skills help us to question those things. It helps us to retrain our minds, to renew our minds, to transform our minds to a different way of thinking, a different approach, using mindfulness skills, using interpersonal effectiveness skills, how to communicate with people, how to socialize with other people, how to effectively listen. It also teaches us how to regulate our emotions, and we can learn how to do that with distress tolerance skills and other ways of calming our mind. So that's what I want to talk to you about. I've learned how to control or how to work with my emotions, and this does take a daily practice, guys and gals. It takes a daily mindfulness practice. Mindful meaning putting everything you have into it, putting your mind, your body, and your soul into your healing. That is what I mean when I say mindfully doing something, when you've got your entire being into this, immersed into this healing process. You're trusting this process, and it's not an easy process. It is some work, but aren't you worth it? I am. In the beginning, I didn't know if I was worth it or not, but I know now that I'm worth it. I'm worth this healing. I'm worth being able to feel good. I'm worth this smile. Okay? I'm worth these compliments. I am worth this laughter. I'm worth this progression, and I'm worth this opportunity to help others. I am worthy of these things, and so are you. So today, when we talk about challenging fear, I want you to try to open your mind to the possibility that maybe there is a different way that I can communicate with fear to work with me. And it's going to look different for everyone, because everyone is on their own individual path. Everyone processes differently. Healing looks different to everyone. But our goal is to try to make sure that during our healing process, we're not negatively affecting or rubbing off on other people, because that's not right. Listen, I'm in all this pain and I'm hurting, so I'm going to make sure that you're hurting too. I don't think that's very nice. And so it's my responsibility as a leader to lead by example and to stop taking my pain, my past traumas, my unresolved issues, my learned toxic behaviors out on anybody else. It's not fair and it's not right, and I'm done with it. It was stifling me. It was keeping me from being my best self. It was holding me back from growth. And I don't like that. I don't like being stagnant. Some people like being stagnant. If you like being stagnant, hey, cool, this is probably not for you, but I still do encourage you to listen. However, if stagnation is so annoying to you, and you love growth, and you love change, and you love transformation, and you love healing, and you love the feeling of peace and joy, you've come to the right place. And I want to start by saying that before you can challenge fear, you must first recognize that this is the emotion that is misfiring. We like to call it misfiring in this therapy, because our emotions can misfire. They can pop off, right? They can be extreme, and they can do the most. And we don't even mean for them to do all of that. But then by the time they've already run amok and shown their whole backside, everybody has seen it, and we cannot take it back. So recognize first, what emotion is challenging me right now? And if fear is that recognized emotion, then what you need to do is tame that emotion. Just like a child. Train that emotion to act right, even when it's flared. Just because we're afraid doesn't mean that we have to yell. Just because we're afraid doesn't mean that we have to cuss somebody out. Just because we're afraid doesn't mean that we have to cheat. Just because we're afraid does not mean that we have to do things against our better judgment to save us. Because more than likely, you guys, we're just going to dig ourselves into a deeper hole, because we're probably not dealing with fear the way fear needs to be handled. I've learned that when you know that fear is the roadblock or the stepping stone to your next deciding behavior, It is my responsibility, and it's up to you. It's your responsibility to challenge it. I've discovered that there's a moment in time right before acting on the emotion of fear. That's the fight or flight that I was talking about earlier. Fight or flight is your brain basically responding to a situation, and it's going to either look like, we're about to get this, we're going to fight, this is not going to beat us, and it may look a whole different ways. Then you have your flight response, which is basically, I'm out of here. I don't know about you, but this situation looks crazy, it feels crazy, I don't like it, I'm gone. And I'm not even talking about this being a physical response. In some, yes, it is a physical response, but I'm talking just in the mental health response. You can be standing in the same spot and fight or flight. You know that? Your brain is trying to decide, how am I going to handle this situation? So whatever happens in that moment will determine what your responses or what your behaviors will look like. What behaviors are we choosing to put out on display? And because we're all different, this could be an impulsive decision. It could be yelling at your child because they're standing in the middle of the street playing instead of on the side like you've asked them to do. But why do we yell? Why do we yell at our kids when they're standing in the middle of the street, paused, like they have lost all kinds of senses of danger? We yell because we're afraid, right? We yell because we're afraid. And I can guarantee you probably that even people that don't have children, who see a child standing in the street, in the middle of the street, they will participate in yelling at that child too to get out of the street. Especially if they see a car coming, because we have that natural instinct to be afraid that something bad might happen. Now, I hope you heard the way that I said that. We have a natural instinct to react to something through fear, because fear, the emotion of fear, tells us something bad might be happening. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the challenge right here. The challenge is questioning that fear. First of all, let me observe the scene. Let me look around. Let me see what situation I'm in. Am I really in danger? Do I need to be afraid right now? Sometimes the way that we react off of our fear can even cause us to feel some regret over not handling it the way that we wanted to. I know a lot of people can resonate with that. You're afraid that your spouse or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your lover, or your friend, or whoever may be cheating on you. You're afraid of infidelity. You're afraid of insecurity. You're afraid of commitment. So what do we do instead? Lie, cheat, hurt the other person, avoid being hurt ourselves by, well, you're not going to hurt me first, so I'm going to make sure I hurt you first. It may even look like creating a barrier of, I'm not going to even let you in my personal space because I don't know if I can be vulnerable with you. Because I'm afraid that if I'm vulnerable, you can end up being someone that I don't need to be trusting in the end. But we won't know that, though, until we take that leap of faith. So challenge your fear. In DBT therapy, I've learned that we may have to deal with a mountain of emotions. And with those emotions, you and me, yes, we are the ones that attach a negative vibration to these emotions. Because emotions are just that. They're just emotions. We are the ones that change the frequency of these emotions. We are in control of our body, and because of that, it's our responsibility to figure out, what do I need to do? How do I need to act? How do I need to think in order to correct my fear from misfiring? I don't want my fear to look like cheating. I don't want my fear to look like yelling. I don't want my fear to look like an attitude. I don't want that. What do you want? Do you like that? How do you want to be perceived? Do you care about how you're perceived? What are your core values? What are your intentions in life? Are your behaviors in line with your core values and your intentions? Because that is what people should be perceiving. If you're walking the walk and you're lining your life up in a way that is balanced, you can see a difference in how that looks. You can feel the difference in how that looks. So, because we have a mountain of emotions, there's a bunch out there. I like to say that I'm working with mine. I like to work with my emotions because I know that they are a part of us. We cannot escape the emotions, and sometimes it feels like we escape the emotions because it can end up being very dark and numbing. That doesn't mean we're escaping the emotions. That's probably our flight kicking in. So when you challenge fear, try to have a profound respect for fear. Open the mind up to the idea that there's no such thing as a bad emotion. They're all there for a specific reason. And most of the time they help us. We just have to figure out what the message is that that emotion is trying to express to us. And we also want to make sure that that emotion is expressing facts. You don't want to pop off or blow up at someone based off of an interpretation that you have misconstrued because of your learned interpretations on what things mean based off of how people react or respond. We can't keep doing that. We cannot keep doing that. So, when you know that your emotions are misfiring and they're going in every which direction, things are just looking a little strange, or in the words of the public or the community, things are looking a bit crazy. She's crazy, she's sensitive, she's over emotional, or he's too sensitive. Oh, you gotta watch what you say. Those are the things. So bear in mind that you need to keep your mind open to that There's no bad emotion. There's no bad emotion. All of the emotions are there for a reason. So what I've done is I start talking to my brain. I know, it's like, it may sound weird, but it may not. Especially if you're on this podcast, because you've got to talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time. And I've learned that self-talk is what actually helps to keep me on my path, okay? So, in one of my posts before, I've done a live feed before on Facebook where I was discussing the brain and the function of the brain in the mental health aspect as a machine to create thoughts. You can check that out on my Facebook. But our brain is there to create so many different thoughts, and with these thoughts comes different emotions and interpretations of these emotions. So we want to go back to right before facing the fear, and we're trying to figure out, are we going to run away from this, or are we going to stand here and fight? You want to walk through it. You want to ask yourself, am I in danger? Do I need to leave this situation right now? Check the facts. That's another DBT skill. Talk to yourself. Ask yourself, what is it that's causing me to feel this way? Why do I feel afraid? How am I interpreting the events that are taking place right now that's causing my brain to prompt feelings of fear? Start paying attention to your body. Am I actually feeling the biological changes of fear? Which can be a fast heart rate, it can be rapid breathing, or shortness of breath. It could be a loss of breath. Some people stop breathing. You ever notice that? You get afraid of something, all of a sudden you stop breathing and you don't even realize you've stopped? I have a lot of friends that do that. I think I even do that, I'm pretty sure. Pay attention to if you're clenching your teeth, or if you have an urge to scream or call out, or if you want to run away or avoid. Pay attention to your facial expressions, your body movements, how you act during the time of fear. Am I frozen right now? Is my stomach cramping? Do I have stomach bubbles? That happens a lot when you're afraid, doesn't it? All of a sudden you have to go to the restroom. It's a possibility that if these things resonate with you, it is fear that is at your doorstep. It is fear that you are dealing with. So now that you've identified, hey, I've identified my emotion, I am afraid. You want to ask yourself, is your fear justified at that time? Do I need to be afraid right now? What is it that's scaring me? Am I over-exaggerating a situation? Am I trying to read someone's mind? Or am I just paying attention to the facts? Have I taken the fact and distorted it with my own cognitive interpretation? These are very, very important questions. And I don't know if you've thought of these questions before, because before this program, I never thought of these questions. But they're pretty good questions, aren't they? So, just know that if you are dealing with fear, you want to ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? Yep, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the problem solving, because before you can problem solve, you must first acknowledge, right? So we've acknowledged it. It is fear. This is what I feel. It's not sadness that I feel. It's not jealousy. It's not envy. It is fear. It's all the things that encompass the word fear. This is what I feel, and I know it. So you know it, and then you attack it. You talk to it. Let me not say attack, because that sounds a little hostile. You don't want to attack something that could be there to help you, right? So you talk to it. What are you going to do about it? Are you afraid of public speaking? Is that what's scaring you? Maybe something you can do about that is practicing in front of a group of people that you do feel comfortable speaking in front of. Maybe you can start practicing in front of a mirror. Maybe you can start practicing on your phone and rewinding and listening back to your own voice. You know, different things like that. What am I going to do about this fear that I feel? What if you're in a horrible situation and someone's holding you against your will? What the heck are you supposed to think then? Because you've got to be afraid of your life every day and what's going to come next. You have to be. And when you're in that position, is your fear justified? Absolutely, it's justified. What can I do about this so that I don't lose my mind and it causes me to do something that may get me hurt even more or further? There's different ways that fear shows up, but these are the things that you want to ask. How can I survive? How can I make it to this next moment? And when you know that it's fear, I want you to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and know that this too shall pass. Okay? It is not always going to be here. And you have the ability to manifest in my world, meaning to create positive emotions out of the depths of your soul, no matter how small it may seem. A little glimpse of hope can take you so far in the next stages of your life, no matter what the situation is. Even if you are being held against your will, a little glimmer of hope, a little faith, the size of a mustard seed, which is very small, is all it takes to challenge that emotion. And you can do it. You can do it. You've made it this far, so I know that you can. I know you can do it. Because if we let fear take over our emotional state or our behaviors without steering its direction, we can end up creating a lot of negative behaviors for our own selves in our journey, which obviously can't be a good thing, right? We end up minimizing situations. We end up narrowing our attention span and becoming more hypervigilant to threats. Sometimes we can lose our ability to focus, become dazed or disoriented like me, or we end up isolating ourselves. I've done that by convincing ourselves that we are safer alone. However, when we choose to tame our fear and stand up to it, we are made stronger, y'all. A bit more matured. We're a lot more, maybe not even a bit, we'll stick to a bit. That's fine, it's reachable. A bit more mature than we were 5 seconds ago. We're a bit more perfected than we were 5 minutes ago. We're a little more whole than we were 5 minutes ago because we have changed the way that we thought of this situation. We are standing tall as a mountain in our mountain pose, as they say in yoga, right? We are standing tall, ready to withstand the weathers of any storm. When you fight, you introduce fear to courage. How nice is that of you? Hello, fear. I would like for you to meet courage. She can probably rub off on you a bit. Maybe if y'all have a little conversation, y'all can balance each other out. You know, like, these are the things that I'm saying to my mind. This is how I talk to my brain. So do it however you feel works for you. But when you fight, you're introducing fear to courage. And once you've done that, you will have already have reached the other side. You've already taken that next step, that leap of faith to grow, to change, to mature. And there's a catch. There is a catch, okay? I know. There's always a catch. The catch is, ladies and gents, is that you need to remember that growth and healing will take a bit of work on our part. Yep, we're responsible. It is our responsibility to grow. It's the only way that we can grow, because we can only change what we do, how we talk, how we act, how we respond. We have no control over anything or anybody else. And the reason we fail or end up disappointed is because we believe that we can. We can't. I'm here to tell you. I've tried it a few times. I've tried it a few different ways, different people. A lot of times I tried it unbeknownst to me. Sometimes I tried it out of pain and manipulation. But as I have healed, I have noticed that there's so many different ways, you know, that this can look to people. So I'm about to give you a little recipe. Got a little recipe for you. This recipe is very, very important. It's very vital. I don't know if you want to write this down or not. Maybe make a mental note. That would be great. You don't need that many ingredients, but this is the recipe to healing. This is the recipe to feeling better. Ready? Here it goes. All you need is a splash of self-belief, believing in yourself, validation, trusting in your ability, a sprinkle of compassion. Oh my God, you guys, do you know how far a little sprinkle of compassion for yourself and others can go? It can go so far. You need a tablespoon of kindness. I had to pause on that. I'll say it again. You need 1 tablespoon of kindness. Let's be kind. Can we be nice? Why do we have to keep being mean to each other? Why do we have to keep being each other's enemy? Why do we have to keep competing against each other? We're all struggling in this life together. Can we just be nice and compassionate and realize that we're all struggling and everybody's struggle is different? But it's a struggle indeed. If we could just be kind, you know, it might make this world a whole lot easier to live in. And then for me, I have a very, 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 very special secret ingredient. You can add your own special secret ingredient because these can be added to. These are not inclusive ingredients. Okay? My secret ingredient is a whole cup full of belief in my higher power, my God, the creator, God of heaven and the earth, the creator, the master. He helps me get through all of this life. He helps me understand so many things. So if you have a spiritual awareness or a higher power, or you have something that drives you to strive for greater, add a cup of that into this mixture and blend it all up. Now, I want you to blend this up every morning. It's good to start with this drink in the morning because it sets your intention for the day. Blend this drink up every morning for positive results. And then when you finish the drink, you will likely wonder, why in the world did I assume the worst in the first place? Oh my God, I was so afraid of what I thought might happen that I didn't realize the probability that something bad might not actually happen. Something bad might not be happening. It may feel like a great weight has been lifted off your shoulders, and you'll likely feel a sense of passionate pride, some relief. You may even feel lighter on your toes. I did. I felt like a baggage of pain was lifted off my shoulders instantly when I surrendered to my spirit, and I listened to my inner self, and I talked down my fear, and I reasoned with my fear and told my fear that it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out. Patience. That's a whole B-size podcast right there, which I will go into patience, because patience is a really big thing of mine that I have been trying to work on and grow. And everybody who has a kind of a spiritual connectivity to the higher power, to God, to the creator, knows that patience is not something you want to pray for, because you will be challenged. Okay? So patience I will talk about on another podcast. But when it begins to be a challenge to act during times of fear, I want you to try to start small. Okay? Because during this challenge, you may not be able to handle the huge, detrimentally fearful things that are engulfing you. But if we can start our practice of challenging fear with small practices, it can build us to the point to where when the big ones come, the large opportunities of fear come, that we're ready for them. If we make small feats, the larger ones will be more attainable to achieve. But we have to do the work. We have to take these deep breaths, and we have to stand up to this fear. Challenge fear. Question fear. Ask it, why are you here? Are you here to protect me, fear? Or have you showed up to hinder me? Because I need to know if this is going to be a teamwork session between you and I, or is this going to be a retraining session? So talk to fear head on and let them know that you're here for it and you're ready for it, and let's get it. Anxieties, fears, and uncertainty can come from adding negative vibrations to our thoughts, and those negative thoughts can poison the soul and cripple it from growth and from moving forward. for all those who seek to live and experience a life of love and surrender to your higher power, your balanced spirit, your wise mind, I have a challenge for you. Yes, a challenge. I have an opportunity of growth for all who believe that they can shift their life in a healthy, holistic way, starting with their mind. I challenge you to make positive actions and decisions today that would lead you to positive results. I challenge you to challenge fear if you've recognized that this is something that is misfiring. If you recognize that I'm acting in a way that I don't want to act because I'm afraid, I challenge you to talk to fear one-on-one. If you do this today, I need you to remind yourself that negative actions and spiritual carelessness will lead to negative results. There's a consequence for every action. Everybody knows that at this point. If we want a better life, y'all, it's time to start making healthier mental choices. Do not think that what human beings do wrong today, no matter how small, will go unnoticed in the spiritual eyes. Please don't think that. Our spirit or our inner conscious state shows through our attitudes and our feelings. For me, I believe that attitudes and feelings can speak way louder than words. A lot of times. And I'm sure that you have witnessed that as well. So I want you to learn how to be effective and integrate every single act, however small. What you do when no one is looking at you. What we do when no one is looking deeply reflects the state of our character. It tells a story of who we really are. You want to always try to analyze your actions, and if you see that you were wrong, don't regret it. But on the contrary, go ahead and try to make it right. Get it right. Because without making the mistakes, we're not allowing ourselves the opportunity to know that we can grow. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. If you make a mistake, make it right, become a better human being, because that's what really matters. Out of love and no longer out of fear, we are called by the Creator in this unique moment of humanity to do what is right and ethical. To live in harmony and in peace and in union as a community. We can't live as a community if we're at each other's throats all day. So let's chop down this negative connotation that we've attached to fear. Let's smooth it out. And in doing this, it empowers us not to lose hope, even when everything else around us, when everyone and everything else around us seems to be chaotic. When you have the guts and the glory to stand up to fear, you are asking for peace. Thank you. I'll see you next time.